Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I'm Ibrahim, and today my science project is about storing renewable energy as hydrogen. It's gonna help us in the overall moving forward with the renewable energy. So what I'm gonna talk about is first what is renewable energy for those of you who don't understand, and then the problem with renewable energy, and what is the solution, and how my prototype demonstrates the solution, and then what's the large-scale utilization of this prototype, the conclusion. So basically, renewable energy is basically it speaks for itself. It's basically energy that lasts forever as long as the world's going to go on. For example, there's fossil fuels which are non-renewable, and basically fossil fuels are going to
Can I have Warda to the office, please? Warda to the office, please.
So fossil fuels are going to end at one point because they don't generate as fast as we use them. So some renewable energies are like solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectricity. Basically, solar energy is using solar panels, converting the sun's radiant energy into electricity. Wind is basically the wind falls on a turbine, turns the turbine using a generator. Then we can like convert into electricity. Hydroelectricity, basically the water turns the turbine this time. It's used in dams and stuff. So it also basically spins a wheel and generates electricity. Geothermal energy is using the Earth's heat for electricity. So how their energy is obtained is basically so basically the problem with renewable energy is basically, first of all, it's not continuous. The sun's energy, it stops at nighttime. And then the wind energy, it just stops whenever the wind's not blowing. So if you live in an area where the wind doesn't blow all the time, then the wind energy stops for some time. And then hydroelectricity, basically dams, sometimes the water flow is not fast enough, or I don't think dams is a good example. This is it. The solar energy and wind energy can stop sometimes. So another thing is, due to them stopping, we have to store them in batteries because we can't continuously power our houses with them since they're intermittent. So we have to use batteries for that. Now the thing about batteries are that batteries, first of all, to make the batteries, you have to mine a lot of resources. That causes a lot of pollution to mine lithium or sodium or whatever you're making the batteries with. Then, after you've mined the resources, you have to manufacture those batteries, and that also takes up a lot of resources and a lot of money, and also causes pollution. And then third of all, after you've used the batteries, even rechargeable batteries, you have to, at one point, their life is over. So you have to dispose of them, and once you discard them, that also causes more pollution. And overall, batteries still contribute to climate change and global warming. So if we use hydrogen, the solution is first what my model shows, that basically the thing is, when we pass electricity through water, basically normal water, it can't conduct electricity, but once we put some sort of electrolyte in water, so like I put baking soda, you can also put salt. What that does is it puts negative and positive ions in the water, which like help conduct electricity. What that does is, whenever electricity passes through water, water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So what this does is it splits the hydrogen and oxygen, and you get two byproducts. You get hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen, so can you come to my model? Show what's happening.
One sec.
Can I show? So this is currently running right now, and hydrogen is like exiting from these two nails that I put in there, basically. You can't see them because the water is very murky, but you can see some bubbles forming at the surface. That's actually hydrogen. So once hydrogen forms, it's just gonna float up and it's gonna fill this water bottle I put here. It looks like a rocket. So what this will do is it stores that energy we put in the water as hydrogen. The thing is, with hydrogen, we can use this technology called hydrogen fuel cells, which we can make hydrogen combust. And what that does is, when hydrogen burns, which I'm going to demonstrate later, when hydrogen burns, it produces a lot of heat for its weight. So like this much hydrogen can like make a really loud sound and like a lot of fire and stuff. So basically, what it also does is, it's not going to blow. Don't worry. Yeah. So what it also does is it doesn't produce any emissions. So only thing that comes out is water and heat. Because when hydrogen burns, it bonds back with water and it turns into steam again. So there's zero emissions. So basically, how this model works is like there's a battery, switch connected to it, wires going down into the container filled with like salt water or baking soda water. There's two of these electrodes which conduct electricity through the water. So what are some advantages of using hydrogen as an energy carrier? So first of all, it's clean energy. Like I said, it produces zero emissions. So it's very safe for the environment if we're making it using electricity in the first place. If we're gonna make it using fossil fuels, that's just not gonna work. And you could just use fossil fuels. Another thing is hydrogen. Like I said, it contains a lot of energy for its size. Another thing is it has a lot of versatility. So like hydrogen can be used to generate electricity, like using fuel cells. It can also power vehicles. It can also like produce heat for homes. I don't know if that's doable or not, maybe in the future. But it can also be used in like in industry. I think they use it in making steel. And for one of the most niche uses, but it can still work, making distilled water. Because once you do the electrolysis, that's the process. Once you obtain the hydrogen, it's just pure hydrogen. And when you burn it, it bonds with pure oxygen. It's just going to create distilled water with nothing in it, so just pure water. Another thing is it's just renewable if you keep making it using the renewable sources of energy. And another thing is it can be used long term if you store any hydrogen. Batteries, if they're just sitting there without being used, they're still going to lose a lot of charge over time. So they can't be stored in long duration. So hydrogen can be used for backup power in that case. Now, what are some disadvantages? Because there's always disadvantages to everything. So first of all, there's just like that complicated process and low efficiency of the thing overall. Because the thing is, first we're getting electricity, then we're converting it into hydrogen, and then we're converting it to electricity again. So that's just a very weird process, but so that way you lose a lot of energy along the way. The upside to this is like you can store. It's a way to store it. So if we develop any different mechanisms like in the future to make it more efficient, it's gonna be worth it. So hydrogen is also like tricky to store because it's the smallest atom in the whole universe. It's the lightest element, so it also takes up a lot of space. So it also leaks very easily, so you're gonna need high pressure tanks or like really low temperatures, which is expensive. Another thing is hydrogen is highly flammable. So like if you just put any sort of tiny flame next to it, all of the hydrogen is just gonna combust. So it's very easily flammable and produces a lot of energy. So in large scale use, this can be a safety risk. Another thing is like for large scale use, we need hydrogen pipelines everywhere, and that's expensive infrastructure to build. So that's another con. And then the thing is, after to transport the hydrogen, like I said, you first have to compress it and then transport it. So this requires more energy to compress it, which means more loss of energy.
So Ibrahim, then we talked about mass production or it actually being used for large scale. Do you think it's possible at some point?
So I think it's actually possible.
Okay.
I'll get to that in a moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you have that information.
Yeah. I think it's possible because we're developing like new technologies basically every year we're coming up with new things. So it's gonna like inshallah we come up with something that
What's up? No, but that's inshallah if I can go home today without my car. Is there any potential solution in mind?
potential solutions in mind.
That you've researched that you are aware of? Or is it 100% inshallah we're all
No,
gonna
not 100% inshallah, but we are currently researching more, like scientists are researching more on hydrogen cell technology, so how we can transport it to the overall. Now I'm going to test the rocket if it's right. So first, before I test it, the thing is it contains hydrogen inside, but the thing is, like I said, it's the lightest element. So there's possible chances that it might have escaped. So there's possible chances that the rocket didn't work. But I'm still gonna pray that it works, and let's hope it doesn't work too well. And let's see.
It's a bomb!
Yeah. So now what could have happened is either there's three possible outcomes. So first of all, what could have happened is, can you look into it? Hydrogen formed, but there wasn't enough hydrogen to come out of the tube and into the water bottle. Second is the hydrogen did come into the water bottle, but the thing is the water bottle's cap is a bit burnt because I used a different lighter before. So what happened is it didn't screw on. It had like a few holes, and the hydrogen leaked from there. The third outcome would be basically that didn't happen. That hydrogen would stay up here, and when I put the lighter, hydrogen would burn, and it would burn, and you would see it burning. So ideally this should have worked, but something happened. I'm pretty sure it was a leak, so that's why it didn't. But now moving on to cars. So right now we're basically still researching. So this is not in large scale use yet. So only about 1%, 0.1% of cars use it.
One car,
Yeah, not one car, but what cars right now, what they do is they use hydrogen to produce electricity, and then they use an electric motor to run the car. So, like I said, this has if you convert hydrogen into electricity again, it's just overcomplicating the process, and it's not really worth it because you're losing a lot of energy along the way. So, if we develop some sort of engine, if we develop some sort of engine that can directly use hydrogen to spin the motor, that's gonna benefit a lot more. So it's still so in conclusion, hydrogen cell usage still exists today, but it's not really widespread, and it still has a lot of issues that need to be worked out. So this project just demonstrated how. It didn't really demonstrate because one part of the project went wrong, but it demonstrated how hydrogen can be stored as energy by using electricity to convert water into obtaining hydrogen. So overall, I think hydrogen has a lot of potential, but we're going to see in the future how well it goes.
Ibrahim, what's your motivation for this project? What motivated you?
Please elaborate that question.
Why did you think of this? Ibrahim thought of Haris thought of the website because he's a game of soccer. He's been involved in the media work from the beginning. What was your motivation to come up with this project?
So I was reading a book, so it had that concept in there.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it would be a cool science project. And then basically in the past what we used to do is science projects, we just made something up and it had some cool fire blowing up and that thing. So that's why in the past we used to do this, but then you introduced the idea of like actually helping the world. So then I researched into what hydrogen could do and play into the role of like actually helping the earth move forward.
What's our contribution? Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Jazakallah.